Every wedding anniversary, Seraphina Bellweather and I would meticulously prepare gifts for each other. This time, however, to comfort her male assistant, she gave him the limited edition sports car she had prepared for me. I demanded he return it, only to be met with Seraphina's accusations. "It's just a car. You have so many in your garage. What's the big deal about giving him one? Can't you stop being so unreasonable?" I immediately signed the divorce papers, and I helped Seraphina's half-sister solidify her position as the Bellweather family heir. Facing Seraphina's red-eyed questioning, I wrapped an arm around Lucy Bellweather's slender waist and smiled faintly. "It's just an heir. You've been it for so long. What's the big deal about letting your sister have a turn?" Chapter 1. On our wedding anniversary, Seraphina Bellweather's new assistant posted on social media, "Feeling super down, the president, with a generous gesture, gave me a car to cheer me up. My president is so beautiful, gentle, and thoughtful in the photo. He struck a pose he thought was handsome, sitting in the limited edition sports car that was originally meant for me. Below were a string of flattering comments. Holy cow, this is every man's dream car. Lucky Shane, handsome guys have it easy. Someone buys them a car when they're unhappy." Looking at the watch in the box, I felt nothing but disgust. I immediately forwarded the screenshot the executive assistant sent me to Seraphina Bellweather. "Ms. Bellweather is truly generous. Just to comfort an assistant, she gives away a car worth millions just like that. How can one car be enough? Why not just give away the position of president's husband too soon after?" Seraphina Bellweather's call came in. Her clear voice carried a hint of helplessness. "Husband, it's just a car. Don't be so petty." "Just a car?" Because I liked cars, every anniversary, Seraphina Bellweather would give me a limited edition luxury car. But now this car, which should have symbolized our wedding anniversary, was given by her to a new assistant. Chapter 2. Unlike typical arranged marriages among the wealthy elite with no real affection, Seraphina Bellweather and I had known each other since childhood. Although I was 2 years older, we were in the same social circle, and our families had business dealings, so our relationship was decent. Most importantly, Seraphina didn't harbor any unforgettable first love, and she was known for maintaining a respectable reputation within our social circle. For me, with my high standards for emotional purity, she was an ideal candidate for a marriage alliance. After marriage, I witnessed a side of her contrary to her cool and indifferent demeanor. She would wear a sexy short skirt, her fair long legs wrapped around my waist, like a siren stealing one's soul. In moments of passion, her eyes would be flushed as she nestled into my arms, whispering words that made one blush. We loved each other, perhaps, in a rational way, but the assistant's blatant flaunting made me feel as if something of mine was being coveted, and I, Sincere Clark, abhorred nothing more than others touching what belonged to me. Chapter 3. My voice was icy as I told Seraphina Bellweather to get the car back, but she refused. "Husband, as I said, it's just a car. You have so many in your garage. What's the big deal about giving him one?" I sneered, hung up the phone, and with my other hand, threw the limited edition handbag I had previously given her into the fireplace, then sent her the photo. Seraphina Bellweather's call came in, a furious voice coming through the receiver. "Sincere Clark, what are you doing? That bag is out of production." I glanced at the blackened bag and chuckled softly. "It's just a bag. Why are you so worked up? Last chance. If you don't get that car back, I'm not sure how many bags will be left in your closet." Having said that, I hung up, leaving no room for negotiation. In this world, no one could make me compromise my own standards. Seraphina Bellweather was angry. She immediately had the executive assistant return the bag, but she broke her promise for our candlelight dinner. I didn't care. I was busy with company affairs when I received a call from a friend. "Sincere Clark, isn't today your wedding anniversary? Seraphina Bellweather isn't home with you, but she's here with her assistant? What's that supposed to mean?" It turned out that Seraphina Bellweather, who should have been celebrating our anniversary privately with me, was now attending a rather unimportant business dinner with her assistant. At the same time, the executive assistant forwarded the assistant's social media post screenshot to me again. Seeing I was in a bad mood, the president canceled everything to accompany me to a high-end dinner party. What kind of heaven-sent happiness is this in the photo? Shane Stone wore a tailored suit, grinning broadly, looking at Seraphina Bellweather with starry eyes. And Seraphina Bellweather, who usually disliked being photographed, was not only highly cooperative but also wore an almost imperceptible smile of indulgence. I tossed the phone aside indifferently. Chapter 4. After we got married, attending all events together was an unspoken understanding between Seraphina Bellweather and me. Now, Seraphina Bellweather was breaking our agreement for an outsider. She knew perfectly well that everyone attending this kind of business function was from our circle, and she knew someone would tell me. Yet she deliberately took Shane Stone with her and even indulged his taking photos and posting them. Seraphina Bellweather simply wanted to retaliate for how I had cornered her earlier, but unfortunately this wouldn't make me sad. It would only provoke my vindictive nature. I called her, but she hung up, so I simply sent her a photo, giving you one more chance. Think carefully. In the photo was me holding the project proposal she had just finished, and Lucy Bellweather, who was in my contacts list. Seraphina Bellweather's half-sister. In less than 3 seconds, Seraphina Bellweather's call came in, but I hung up. She called again, and I hung up again. Only when my friend's call came in did I leisurely answer. Seraphina's low voice held dissatisfaction mixed with a hint of pleading. "Husband, stop messing around." "Seraphina Bellweather, I need a public explanation." She knew what I meant, but she wouldn't back down. I hung up again. Having no choice, Seraphina Bellweather had to turn on the speakerphone. My voice carried to everyone's ears in the banquet hall. "Hello, everyone. I heard Ms. Bellweather brought someone new, so I thought I should say hello." In the quiet hall, Seraphina Bellweather's nervous breathing was especially clear. "Husband, Shane is just my assistant. We're just a supervisor and subordinate." I chuckled mockingly. Well, aren't you a great boss, not only giving away a car worth millions just like that? You can even cancel our wedding anniversary plans to accompany your assistant to a party." Seraphina Bellweather quickly explained, "It's just a misunderstanding." Seraphina Bellweather. I interrupted her explanation. "Seraphina Bellweather, I heard the dessert at tonight's dinner is quite good. Make sure the newcomer gets some. Otherwise, you know the consequences." Soon after, my friend's call came in again, his tone smug. "Holy hell, Sincere Clark, you're amazing. What kind of spell did you put on Seraphina Bellweather?" Without a word, she dumped all the cake, juice, and whatever else from tonight right onto that assistant's head. You should have seen it, how pathetic that grown man looked, crying and running away. Everyone in the circle was cracking up. "Ha ha. Seriously though, what's going on with you two? Seraphina Bellweather's face looks terrible. Are you guys all right?" I toyed with the jade stone in my hand, stating with certainty, "We're fine. That's the good thing about business marriages. There are too many intertwined interests, so neither spouse dares to easily offend the other." Soon after, Seraphina Bellweather returned, her face grim. "Sincere Clark, where is my project proposal?" I stared at her impassively. Finally, Seraphina Bellweather's face was pale and defeated. She irritably kicked off her heels and sighed. "I did as you said. I dumped the stuff and I sent him away. What more do you want from me?" I gently pulled her wrist, making her look me in the eye. "Seraphina Bellweather, it's not what I want you to do, but what you owe me a reasonable explanation. Stop trying to fob me off with the supervisor's subordinate excuse. After all, I've never seen you give any other assistant such warmth. Especially this assistant who just joined the company and hasn't even finished his probation period. You casually gave away our wedding anniversary gift to someone else, took him to events, even canceling our quality time together. Where exactly do I stand in your heart?" Seraphina Bellweather sat down, defeated. I just saw him making mistakes at work and crying from self-reproach and felt sorry for him. I thought, it's just a car. You have loads in your garage. You probably wouldn't care, so I just casually gave it to him. I gently released her hand. You, Seraphina Bellweather, have always been ruthless when it comes to work. Low-level mistakes like errors you never used to tolerate, let alone giving him a car or taking someone to a party with you. If it were anyone else, would you still have been so indulgent? Seraphina Bellweather completely conceded, like a deflated balloon. She wrapped her arms around my waist, defeated. I'm sorry, it's just that the first time I saw him, it was as if I saw little Riley. I thought, if little Riley were still alive, he'd be around this age and he'd also laugh so carefree. Unconsciously, I just wanted to look after him more. It was me. I lost perspective. Riley, Seraphina Bellweather's younger brother. Sadly, he suffered from a genetic illness since childhood and passed away early. I remembered little Riley in a photo album, with an innocent smile and 2 adorable dimples on his 2-year-old face. And Shane Stone seemed to have 2 dimples as well. My hand lightly stroked the top of her head, but my mind was calmly calculating. Currently, the partnership between the Clark and Bellweather families was inseparable. My marriage with Seraphina Bellweather involved too many complications. Separating would be too troublesome. But the appearance of this assistant and the emotional conflict it caused between Seraphina and me made me feel somewhat weary. After thinking for a long time, I cupped Seraphina Bellweather's face and said seriously, Seraphina Bellweather, I do love you. I did like Seraphina Bellweather. Her appearance, inner character, her clean past, even her education and family background, all perfectly matched my preferences. Unexpectedly, I was so blunt, Seraphina Bellweather froze slightly, surprised. But you should understand my nature. I have high standards for emotional purity. I will only love the clean you. Don't disappoint me. Seraphina Bellweather gently kissed me. I won't. Chapter 5. As my friend said, Shane Stone now seemed to have become a joke. Before, relying on Seraphina Bellweather's special favor, he often threw his weight around in the president's office, even presumptuously directing the executive assistant's work schedule. He seemed desperate to be in front of Seraphina Bellweather every single day, but his assigned daily tasks were often mishandled, causing constant complaints in the president's office. Complaints poured into the HR department. The HR director just followed procedure and talked to him, subtly suggesting his workability and attitude were problematic, and Shane Stone became red-faced with anger. He yelled that the HR director looked down on him, making the HR director seem like an unforgivable villain. Eventually, because Seraphina Bellweather stepped in to protect Shane Stone, the matter was left unresolved. So when Shane Stone made another mistake at work today, the news of a written warning from the HR director, signed by Seraphina Bellweather, spread throughout the company. People were buzzing with discussions, especially when they heard he had been poured wine on by Seraphina Bellweather and kicked out of the business dinner because he had offended me. Everyone was happy to watch the spectacle, knowing perfectly well Ms. Bellweather is married, and still latching onto her like that, truly shameless. Exactly, look at his social media posts, calling her my president so constantly. His intention to be a kept man is obvious. Chasing after her to be a kept man and homewrecker, no moral bottom line at all. That smug look he had before, you'd think he had successfully taken over. The gossip made Shane Stone's face dark, and ignoring everything, he started a fight right there in the office. It almost escalated to colleagues calling the police. But this time, Seraphina Bellweather no longer softly comforted him or stood up for him like before. The executive assistant directly had him transferred out of the president's office. He was assigned to the logistics department, starting from the bottom like other interns. Immediately, everyone throughout the company understood that Shane Stone's days of arrogant strutting and smugness were over. This incident made it clear to everyone that I was not to be trifled with, and anyone dared to covet Seraphina Bellweather would have to think twice. After Shane Stone changed positions, both his salary and work environment plummeted abruptly. Moreover, the cold sarcasm and sneering about him in the company were never hidden from him. I knew there was deliberate harassment and ostracism against him, but I had no intention of intervening. After all, When he repeatedly relied on Seraphina Bellweather's indulgence to offend others without restraint, he should have considered what he would face when he lost favor. Shane Stone eventually couldn't stand it anymore and chose to submit his resignation. The executive assistant gladly accepted. After all, for someone who hadn't even finished his probation period, a resignation was just a matter of the HR department stamping their approval. But he specifically chose to show up before Seraphina Bellweather wearing a faded t-shirt and light-colored jeans, with red eyes and a shattered, helpless look. Before Seraphina Bellweather could even ask, his tears began welling up. "Ms. Bellweather, I've already resigned. I really didn't mean to anger Mr. Clark. Please tell Mr. Clark that they were just a few careless words." Seraphina Bellweather, who was always calm and rational, lost her temper in the company for the first time. She severely reprimanded the executive assistant for abusing his authority. "What right do you have to fire people arbitrarily?" The executive assistant, unfairly accused after working for years with his straightforward temper, immediately replied, "Ms. Bellweather, I didn't fire Shane Stone. He chose to resign himself. Furthermore, his work ability was not sufficient for the company's requirements." Saying this, he produced the several complaint letters and warning records he had in hand. Seraphina Bellweather knew she was in the wrong. Unwilling to get further entangled in this matter, she immediately fired the executive assistant. Not only that, she, who had always been gentle with me, snatched the wine glass from my hand and violently smashed it on the floor. "Sincere Clark, I have shown you enough respect. I listened to you. I transferred Shane Stone out of the president's office and stopped dealing with him. But in return, you've escalated your bullying of a naive young man. You've disappointed me greatly." She slammed the door and left. The shards of glass that splashed up left tiny, invisible scratches on my cheek, like my marriage with her. Chapter 6. Seraphina Bellweather, who was giving me the cold shoulder, promoted Shane Stone to be her personal assistant and frequently ostentatiously brought him to various business parties and high-end venues. She not only shielded him from toasts, but also gave him various high-end jewelry. Shane Stone seemed eager to make 800 social media posts a day. Every picture perfectly captured a glimpse of Seraphina Bellweather. He was practically ostentatiously announcing their extraordinary relationship to the world. Friends I was close with in our circle subtly reminded me that this assistant around Seraphina Bellweather was appearing perhaps too frequently, cautioning me to be careful about being cheated on. In business marriages, it was common for spouses to lead separate lives. But perhaps because Seraphina Bellweather and I had been too good together before, everyone thought we wouldn't fall into that stereotype. And Seraphina Bellweather, to make me realize my mistake, simply chose to move out and stay in a hotel. When Shane Stone came to get Seraphina Bellweather's documents from me, he spoke ambiguously, both overtly and covertly. "Hello, Mr. Clark, I am Shane Stone, Ms. Bellweather's personal assistant." Ms. Bellweather wasn't at ease having anyone else handle these documents, so I came personally to get them. I ignored him completely and slammed the door shut. Looking at someone like that for too long felt like an insult to my eyes. Chapter 7. While Seraphina Bellweather was taking Shane Stone to various high-end events, I met with Lucy Bellweather, who had just returned from abroad, at a club. Unlike Seraphina Bellweather's cool beauty, Lucy Bellweather possessed a charming and sophisticated beauty in her every move. Back then, after Lucy Bellweather's mother passed away, Arthur Bellweather remarried his former first love and bore Seraphina Bellweather. Lucy Bellweather and I were the actual childhood acquaintances. We were close in age and had been classmates throughout, so our relationship was quite good. Later, because Lucy Bellweather was unhappy with Arthur Bellweather's favoritism and her stepmother's passive aggression, she chose to study abroad, and she gradually took over the Bellweather family's foreign businesses. 3 years ago, after I chose Seraphina Bellweather as my marriage alliance partner, Lucy Bellweather suddenly returned from abroad and found me. She only left one sentence, "You'll regret this," and then left. At the time, I was completely bewildered. 3 years later, Lucy Bellweather's words were even more startling. "I heard you're getting a divorce?" Perfect. I need a marriage alliance partner. Consider me. At this time, the Clark family's legal team was helping me with the asset division. Business marriages involved too many things, whether it was the cooperation between the two companies or the joint stocks, real estate, and fund investments under Seraphina Bellweather and my names. However, since I had decided to divorce, I had to make the first move. Fortunately, my sister, Caroline Clark, was very capable these past 3 years, taking the Clark family to new heights, ensuring the benefits I gained from the marriage alliance were not wasted. Chapter 8. Soon it was my 27th birthday, but strangely I received a birthday gift sent by Seraphina Bellweather, who was still giving me the cold shoulder. A car. I gave a cold smile and immediately had it driven into a scrap yard. Someone had specifically sent me a screenshot of Shane Stone's social media post. I heard the sapphire star can bring happiness to its owner. Thank you, my president baby, for the gift. With you by my side, I'll always be happy compared to flashy cars. I prefer something with special meaning like this accompanied by a smug and mocking expression. The sapphire blue watch on his wrist shone brightly. Compared to the priceless sapphire star, the car I was given felt more like an insult. However, this time I made no move to show anger. Instead, I directly sent the image to my legal team. Excellent. I could add a few more items to my divorce asset list. Soon after, I received a call from Arthur Bellweather, asking me to come back to the Bellweather family's old manor. Called back with me was Seraphina Bellweather. Unexpectedly, she was audacious enough to bring Shane Stone with her. Seeing my arrival, Seraphina Bellweather's thin lips moved slightly, as if she wanted to say something. I walked into the manor past her without looking away. Chapter 9. Seeing Shane Stone's arrival, Arthur Bellweather, already stern, furrowed his brow. He said to Seraphina Bellweather with dissatisfaction, "This is a family dinner. Why bring someone irrelevant?" Shane Stone, having been wearing tailored suits and frequenting high-end venues during this period, had indeed acquired a certain air of refinement. Now, standing gracefully by Seraphina Bellweather's side, anyone who saw them would say they were a perfect match. Shane Stone presented the gift he had prepared and said with a fawning smile, "Hello, Mr. Bellweather. I'm the president's personal assistant. Today, hearing that the president was returning to visit you, I specifically asked her to bring me along to visit you. Please don't misunderstand, and don't let anyone's casual remarks cause you to misunderstand my relationship with the president." As he spoke, he deliberately or unintentionally glanced at me. Unfortunately, his attempt at manipulative provocation had no effect whatsoever on the experienced Arthur Bellweather. Arthur Bellweather heavily struck his cane on the floor. Silence. "I'm talking to my daughter. What business is it of yours? Who are these others you keep talking about? Could it possibly be my good son-in-law? As if you're worthy?" Arthur Bellweather's merciless scolding made Shane Stone's face turn awkward. Eleanor Bellweather, considering Seraphina Bellweather's reputation, spoke up to smooth things over. "Oh dear, a guest is a guest. It's rare for the children to come back. Don't keep such a stern face." "Shane, come in quickly." My expression was one of mockery as I looked at Eleanor Bellweather. She certainly hadn't shown me any mercy. Just as I was about to sneer, a lazy voice came from upstairs. "A guest is a guest?" "Right, birds of a feather flock together. Manipulative people attract manipulative people. That's only normal. Cough, cough. Open the window. The air in here is thick with the smell of manipulation. It's suffocating me seeing Lucy Bellweather come out." Eleanor Bellweather's eyes glinted with resentment, but she was helpless, attributing everything going wrong to me. Seraphina Bellweather's face showed anger. "Sincere Clark, haven't you caused enough trouble? How many times have I told you we're just supervisor and subordinate? You still went complaining to my father I haven't bothered you about letting people bully Shane before. Are you trying to literally drive him to his death?" Slap. Arthur Bellweather fiercely slapped Seraphina Bellweather across the face. Her left cheek instantly swelled up. Her father, who had always doted on her, had actually hit her. Seraphina Bellweather stared at him, stunned, unable to believe it. Shane Stone cried out in alarm and tenderly reached out to her. The explicit intimacy between the two greatly angered Arthur Bellweather. "Get over here," Shane Stone, realizing he had been improper, quickly lowered his hand, lowered his head, hid behind Seraphina Bellweather, and remained silent. Seeing Seraphina Bellweather deliberately shielding him behind her, Arthur Bellweather's face was full of disappointment. "Seraphina Bellweather, I raised you myself. I never thought you could be so foolish." Just a few words of provocation from a kept man. "And you doubt your own husband's character, you doubt your past together. No wonder Sincere wants a divorce from you." Arthur Bellweather's voice was full of regret and pain. Seraphina Bellweather was about to argue, but she suddenly froze, stunned. She turned to look at me, disbelief in her eyes. You said Sincere wants to divorce me?" Chapter 10. I stepped forward to help the enraged Arthur Bellweather sit down. "Father, please calm down. I'm very sorry to have caused you worry. My marriage with Seraphina Bellweather wasn't just about the two of us. It was a matter for the Bellweather and Clark families. After the Clark legal team figured everything out, my parents brought up the matter with Arthur Bellweather as the head of the Bellweather family. Arthur Bellweather must have called me today wanting to persuade me further. But he didn't expect Seraphina Bellweather to be so foolish as to bring Shane Stone directly back to the old manor. And to defend him, she disregarded my reputation and even spoke insultingly to me. What happened tonight made him understand why I was determined to divorce. Arthur Bellweather sighed deeply and patted my hand. "Sincere, it is our Bellweather family that has let you down. Since that's the case, let's proceed with the divorce as you requested." Arthur Bellweather's words stunned many people. Eleanor Bellweather was the first to jump out. "No, old man, it's perfectly normal for a young couple to have a disagreement." Saying this, she glanced at me, her eyes holding displeasure. "Sincere, it's not for me to say, but you're a grown man. Don't be so paranoid, be a bit more magnanimous." Eleanor Bellweather wasn't from a prominent family. She climbed her way up by marrying Arthur Bellweather to become a wealthy madam. But she could never shed her petty nature. After marrying Seraphina Bellweather, every holiday season, according to custom, I provided her with all the high-end jewelry required. However, in her eyes, this courtesy transformed into me eagerly trying to curry favor with her. So every time we met, she liked to position herself as an elder, adopting an arrogant and condescending attitude towards me. My sister, Caroline Clark, summarized Eleanor Bellweather's behavior. "The more insecure a person is, the ruder they become." In the past, for the sake of the marriage alliance, I ignored her. Now I wasn't going to indulge her. "You speak so well, Mrs. Bellweather, worthy of the generous and dignified matriarch of the Bellweather family. However, the next time you make a scene at Bellweather Corp., perhaps you'll remember what you said today." Previously, Eleanor Bellweather had caused a huge commotion at Bellweather Corp. because Arthur Bellweather hired a secretary who resembled his first wife. She cried and made such a scene that everyone knew about it, making it a joke in their circle. When I brought this up, Eleanor Bellweather was both embarrassed and enraged, pointing at me. "Don't you have any manners? You and Seraphina aren't divorced yet, and I'm still your elder, yet you dare speak to an elder like that. You have no upbringing." Hearing that, I sneered. "Excuse me, but my name is Clark. My parents took care of my education. There's no need for irrelevant people to point fingers here. As for upbringing, I can confidently say I haven't been faithless to my marriage by finding a mistress, nor have I been a homewrecker breaking up someone else's family. Mrs. Bellweather, instead of having the time to lecture others, perhaps you should focus on yourself." It was an open secret in their circle that Eleanor Bellweather had become the main partner by being a mistress back then. It was just that for the sake of the Bellweather family's face, no one mentioned it, but inwardly they all disdained Eleanor Bellweather's actions. This was also why Arthur Bellweather had asked my parents early on to have me marry Seraphina Bellweather. He wanted to give her an extra layer of protection. Unfortunately, Eleanor Bellweather couldn't see this. I had always thought Seraphina Bellweather was smart and understood the stakes involved, but now it seemed she was foolish too. Eleanor Bellweather was trembling with rage, pointing at me, unable to speak for a long time. Seraphina Bellweather suddenly walked over, grabbing my arm, looking distraught. "Sincere Clark, I've told you it was a misunderstanding. Do you really have to push for divorce?" Shane Stone also quickly feigned agreement. "Yes, Mr. Clark, the president and I are innocent. You were born into wealth, high and mighty. You can't understand the hardship of working people. As the president's personal assistant, I need to be on call 24/7, handling everything for her. This is my job, nothing more." Misunderstanding? I looked mockingly at the hypocritical Shane Stone. Is it the hardship of wearing tailored clothes, driving luxury cars, and frequenting high-end places every day? Or is it the hardship of flying to Switzerland to ski, soaking in hot springs in Japan, and visiting Disneyland in the States at a moment's notice? Then you must be truly suffering. Previously, to show off Seraphina Bellweather's special treatment of him, Shane Stone was eager to publicize every detail of their movements on social media. This content conveniently became leverage for me during the divorce. "That's just employee benefits," Lucy Bellweather, using an exaggerated tone, mocked, "Oh my heavens, as the vice president of Bellweather Corp. I can't believe I wasn't aware our company benefits were this good. These past few years I've been working like a dog, pushing myself to the limit to expand our foreign markets, only to find it was so my little sister's assistant could live such a life of ease." I watched the Seraphina Bellweather, trying to twist the truth, with amusement. Seraphina Bellweather, do you think I'm a fool? Honestly, ask yourself. The previous executive assistant worked with you for years. Did you give him cars or watches? Did you take him to non-work-related events? Don't use work as an excuse. Even work itself feels wronged. As for what you said earlier about seeing Riley when you looked at him, forgive my poor eyesight, but I truly can't see any resemblance between an adult in his 20s and a 2-year-old child. Lucy Bellweather continued her timely intervention. "Truly, once your heart wanders, when you lie, you spare no one, not even your own family. Little sister, if you had just said you were into this young man, why use family as an excuse?" Seraphina Bellweather turned red with shame and anger at being exposed. "Shut up. What does our marital business have to do with you?" "Lucy Bellweather, don't think I don't know what you're plotting. You've always liked Sincere Clark. Let me tell you, you didn't have a chance back then, and you don't have a chance now either." Chapter 11. Lucy Bellweather, having her inner thoughts exposed in public, showed not the slightest bit of embarrassment. She openly admitted, "That's right, I do like Sincere Clark. If old man Bellweather hadn't lied to me back then to give you an extra layer of security, you wouldn't have been able to smoothly marry into the Clark family. Furthermore, I wouldn't be like you, grasping for more when you already have enough, wanting what's in the pot while eating from your bowl." Lucy Bellweather's unconcealed affection towards me flustered Seraphina Bellweather. She tightly clutched my arm as if clinging to her last shred of hope, her expression anxious. "Husband, I can swear to God, nothing happened between him and me when we traveled for business. We stayed in separate rooms. I have never done anything to betray you. Truly, I am innocent." I forcefully shook off her hand. "I know it's just a shame that from the moment you repeatedly broke your promises to me for another man, you became stained in my eyes. Seraphina Bellweather, I warned you before. I would only give you one chance. It was you who broke your word. A friend once asked me if the divorce was absolutely necessary. Seraphina Bellweather hadn't technically had physical affair. Among people like us, whose marriages are tied to family interests, there are many who lead separate lives. It's often acceptable. After all, the outcome might be the same anyway. But I refuse to compromise myself. A soiled partner is like an expensive dress crawling with lice. No matter how valuable, I wouldn't choose to wear it. I've never lacked the courage to love, nor the means to start over. So what if the final outcome is the same? At least during the period it lasted, that person was, for me, clean and flawless. Chapter 12. Seraphina Bellweather refused to sign the divorce papers. To win me back, she immediately fired Shane Stone, took back everything she had given him before, and even blacklisted him in the industry. As indulgent as she had been before, she was now equally ruthless. Towards me, she was like a naive girl experiencing first love. Heartwarming porridge, homemade loving breakfasts, the luxury cars and watches I liked. She sent them all to me. But I sent them all back. Once I've decided on something, I never regret it. No matter how Seraphina Bellweather behaved, as far as I was concerned, she was history. However, Shane Stone, who had enjoyed being elevated during this period, could not accept being brought low now. The people who had envied and flattered him before were now only there to mock and sneer at him. Shane Stone didn't want to return to that kind of life, going from ordinary to mediocre. So, taking advantage of one of Seraphina Bellweather's business engagements, he drugged her, deliberately got into her bed, and even called the media. Instantly, the news of Seraphina Bellweather's affair topped the trending topics. To minimize the impact on Bellweather Corp., Arthur Bellweather pressured Seraphina Bellweather into signing the divorce papers. Having been together for these years, Seraphina Bellweather knew me well. If her emotional straying before was already unclean in my eyes, then the exposure of her sleeping with Shane Stone now, there was absolutely no future for her and me. Seraphina Bellweather was like an abandoned stray cat, shattered, helpless, her expression defeated. But she could only watch me leave, walking away. For the sake of both families' interests, I voluntarily came forward to make an explanation, stating that Seraphina Bellweather and I had already divorced due to irreconcilable differences, saving face for both the Bellweather and Clark families. Seraphina Bellweather was forced to get engaged to Shane Stone. I didn't expect Shane Stone to proactively seek me out. Perhaps thinking he had gotten what he wanted, he no longer put on a harmless facade, smoking a cigarette, drinking, his eyes restlessly scanning the passing women. He looked at me, his eyes smug and arrogant. When I used to work odd jobs, looking at those dressed in extravagance and acting superior, I'd think, "What's so great about you people? You just happen to be born into the right family, that's all." I sneered. Being born into the right family is also a skill set one needs, and you simply don't have that capability. And just as you said, if you look down on us so much, why did you try so hard to become a homewrecker? After being exposed, Shane Stone's voice turned sharp. So what if you're a rich second generation? Didn't I still manage to cheat on you? To be honest, that woman felt ordinary. She was completely uninteresting in bed. Only you treated her like a treasure. I punched him in the face. How shameless. Shane Stone prodded his jaw, tilted his head up, 45 degrees, showing me his greasy jawline, full of malice. Sincere Clark, don't bully a young man down on his luck. If we go head to head, be careful I don't strip you bare one day. I'll make you kneel and beg me. I let out a cold laugh. This person was truly insane. Must have read too many wish-fulfillment novels. Strip me bare indeed. People like us, who were born into the right families, let alone engagement, even for a wedding, we have a whole team of lawyers following us. Shane Stone didn't care. Let me tell you, Seraphina Bellweather is pregnant once she gives birth to my son. Everything belonging to the Bellweather family will be mine, and my son's in the future. Ha ha ha. No wonder the Bellweather family swallowed this humiliation. So Seraphina Bellweather was pregnant. However, looking over his shoulder, I shrugged, heard everything. Have we? Shane Stone's eyes widened. He turned and saw Seraphina Bellweather's scarlet eyes. Changing from her usual indifference, she rushed over, furious, and gave Shane Stone a beating. Scum, how dare you scheme against me? Shane Stone couldn't dodge. In time, and had his cheeks swollen by 2 slaps. Wife, listen to me. Sincere Clark schemed against me. He forced me to say that, wife, I love you. Seraphina Bellweather's fists clenched in rage. Love me? Love me means drugging me. Shane Stone, I have already called the police. As soon as she finished speaking, the police arrived and took Shane Stone away. The incident of the Bellweather family heir being drugged caused a huge stir. Arthur Bellweather, for the reputation of Bellweather Corp., publicly announced that Lucy Bellweather was the new heir of the Bellweather family. Lucy Bellweather's achievements over the years were evident to all, and she was far more welcomed by the board than Seraphina Bellweather. She quickly gained full control of Bellweather Corp. The executive assistant previously fired by Seraphina Bellweather was also invited back by her. Truly capable people wouldn't have their talents buried. But all that had nothing to do with me anymore. After the divorce, my sister, Caroline Clark, sent me abroad to head a subsidiary branch. Chapter 13. It was a year later when I saw Seraphina Bellweather again. I heard she immediately went and terminated the pregnancy, and with swift and decisive action, she sent Shane Stone to prison. Online reports revealed that Shane Stone had been a kept man since his school days, having relationships with many wealthy older women. Seraphina Bellweather was the youngest and most beautiful woman he had hooked up with, so he desperately attempted to become the main partner by being a mistress, aiming to become the Bellweather family's live-in son-in-law. Unfortunately, Shane Stone had no professional ethics whatsoever as a gigolo. In private, he would often complain to his shady friends about those wealthy women. He even gave them nicknames, something like Steel Wool and so on. All this was leaked online. Those wealthy women, for the sake of their reputations, banded together, bribed his inmates, and chose to ensure Shane Stone was silenced permanently. I heard Shane Stone died a very miserable and brutal death. I knew Seraphina Bellweather's hand was involved in this. After Shane Stone died, Seraphina Bellweather's forceful return still couldn't shake Lucy Bellweather's position as heir. With the subtle support of the Clark family and the strong assistance of Lucy Bellweather's maternal family, within just 1 year, Lucy Bellweather completely gained control of Bellweather Corp. She even forced Arthur Bellweather out of the board of directors. This is the benefit that a business marriage can bring. It's a shame Seraphina Bellweather didn't understand this. Back then, Eleanor Bellweather was unwilling to accept Lucy Bellweather taking her daughter's position. Now she constantly forces Seraphina Bellweather into various blind dates. She even introduces men roughly her age to Seraphina Bellweather. She often complained why Seraphina Bellweather wasn't a boy, and why it wasn't Seraphina who had died back then. People like Eleanor Bellweather would never understand that for wealthy families, personal capability is far more important than gender. For example, the helmsman of our Clark family is my own elder sister, Caroline Clark. Caroline was swamped with work, so she had me represent the Clark family at a party. Smiling faintly, I raised a glass and drank with Lucy Bellweather. It turns out finding someone truly like-minded in marriage is such a happy thing. Seraphina Bellweather stared at our clasped hands, her expression cloudy and unclear, sincere. "Is this your punishment for me?" Leaving me, helping Lucy Bellweather snatch my position as heir. I looked at her, a light smile in my eyes. "Seraphina Bellweather, you once said, 'I have so many cars, what's the big deal about giving one to someone else?' Now, I'll return that phrase to you. The position of Bellweather Corp president, you've held it for so many years. What's the big deal about letting my Lucy have a turn?" I deliberately emphasized the words, "my Lucy." Seraphina Bellweather's eyes were filled with desolation as she watched my receding back, full of regret over what she had done. At that moment, she regretted immensely that she shouldn't have sympathized with Shane Stone back then. And even more, she shouldn't have allowed her mind to wander and her thoughts to stray while interacting with him. But it was all too late. She knew deeply that from now on in this life there would be no possibility left with sincere Clark.